the time that you do spend working, you want to be high impact, high performance, and it's not linear to me, Jason, right? It's very non-linear. I'm a better CEO by spending less time only on the business, where I'm also spending time on my self-care, on my relationships. Look at what's important to you, and that's the integration. I have a very structured, I'll give you a key component. Look at look at your calendar. Look at where you spent the last 30 days and look at what you spent your time on. You're going to find out what's important to you by where you spend your time. I flipped that. I inverted, and I designed my time.
Fastlane Founders and Legacy with Jason Barnard. Each week, Jason sits down with successful entrepreneurs, CEOs, and executives and get them to share how they mastered the delicate balance between rapid growth and enduring success in the business world. How can we quickly build a profitable business that stands the test of time and becomes our legacy? A legacy we're proud of. Fastlane Founders and Legacy with Jason Barnard.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to another Fastlane Founders and Legacy with me, Jason Barnard, and a quick hello, and we're good to go. Welcome to the show, Peter Goldstein.
Good morning. I love that intro. Isn't that great?
Yeah, I like singing. It's one of my favorite things in the world. So welcome. We're going to be talking about integration over balance. And as a CEO, this is a key question. My question just before we came on air was, is balance overrated and integration underestimated? And you seem to be saying yes.
It's a strong yes, Jason. I've been an entrepreneur for close to 40 years now, almost 4 decades. And so early in my career, and I think many founders and entrepreneurs chase balance like it's something as a finish line, like I can get to someday. I've learned it's really more about integration and bringing who you are in your totality into what you do. And that's a very different approach. So when you operate from alignment, right, then your energy becomes sustainable. You're not being different parts of yourself and different components. You're bringing 100% of who you are as a person, an individual, a leader, in an integration as opposed to balance. To me, is what I've learned is the key to longevity.
All right. I love that as an opening statement of intent. And you have the IPOs to back up your approach. Before we get into that, I just wanted to show your brand set, the search engine results page for your name. And this is something relatively new. Google have now added AI mode as an option on the Google homepage. So they're now pushing through away from traditional search and towards AI search, as we've come to know from ChatGPT. And so immediately I used AI mode to look at you, and you come up number 1 on the list. There are a lot of people who share your name, but AI mode is really good. I really like AI mode because it can take multiple aspects of you and put it into a lovely summary. And it can also show the user multiple people with your name in case they're actually looking for somebody else. And as you can see, there's quite a list in AI mode. And this is the future of search. And at Calicube, this is what we manage, exactly what appears when somebody uses Google AI mode, ChatGPT, or another AI to do their due diligence on you. So in terms of being a leader, my perspective is somebody, the partners, the clients, the hires, they're going to do due diligence on you as a leader at some point. Am I overestimating the need for managing that?
No, I think many people do underestimate it, but it's what's happening in reality, right? Between AI and I would add LinkedIn. I'm in meetings now with people and they know more about me and in the first 30 seconds to a minute it's done in real time, right? So I think it's quite critical. Earlier on in my career and up until recently, I didn't believe in a digital presence, and over the last 4 or 5 years I've had a very focused and concentrated effort to have that. I was very actually pleased and proud to see I came up number 1 in that search, and it's the right Peter Goldstein, because there are many people that do share that name. But I think that's also about creating a brand presence and a voice. And people want to do business with people that they like and they trust and they know are experts in their field of study.
And the particular thing about coming out top, I mean, Google talk about EEAT, expertise, experience, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. And the SEO community are completely obsessed by that, and rightly so. Call it credibility. But why do you come out on top? Because of notability. So at CaliQ, we add notability, so we call it neat, because you can be as expert as you want. You won't come out on top unless you're the most notable person with that particular name. And apparently, you've convinced Google that you are the most notable person with that name, whether you are or not. And that's important because perception is everything, and Google's perception is everything in this particular context.
Well, I need to send Google a thank you.
Yes, personally, to the algorithms who actually probably don't care.
Correct. Right.
Brilliant. So back to your topic rather than my topic, balance and integration. You say everybody's looking for balance, and I think I've been victim of that idea as well. And I like the idea of you saying, well, just be yourself, integrate, and make the company, if I understand correctly, the company functions around the way you are, and that's going to make you balanced by definition because you're not trying to be somebody else in different circumstances. Or have I misunderstood and misrepresented?
No, I think that's a part of it, Jason. I think it's also
so
not just
tiny bit.
It's good and an important part. I think all of us have our gifts, right? You know, if you take, there's some great teachers that I've had and, you know, learnings along the way. And one of them is that, you know, Michael Gerber, who wrote the E-Myth, is for founders and entrepreneurs. It's a great read. That if you take the total pie of a business, right, 100%, that most founders have a 15% to 20% sweet spot. That's really their gift. And that's where we want to stay. You know, being integrated is, of course, and having a well-run organization is having others around you that can contribute. But in your 15, in your domain, if you're showing up with your natural gift, your energy, your power, your presence, along with your purpose, you're bringing that full integration. So it's not just the business piece. And that's where I think CEOs often sacrifice who they are as an individual, as a person, for working primarily on the business aspects. And I believe integration goes way beyond that. It's about leadership. It's about embodiment. And typically those things are seen as constraints. I see that as the foundation that lets us work, you know, incredibly effective in a higher purpose, if you will, beyond just business. It's quality of life, right? And you know, maybe this comes with wisdom and experience, but I didn't have it as much as a present thinking when I was earlier on in my career. And that's one of the reasons why I really believe that integration plays just a key message to entrepreneurs. And it's not steady state, right? So I just came off a very intense period in Asia where I lost my integration and my balance for a period because of the time zones and the working and the intensity of a project that I just completed. And now I'm restoring it because I can tell when I'm in and out of that integration. And so it's a bit elusive at times, just like balance might be to others. But I think the key differential is that it's something like we're always working on it, but it's not towards a finish line. It's a constant reorganization and structure. So what allows me to come back to integration is structure, and it goes outside of work. It goes into what's important.
So are you saying that for integration, I need to identify some kind of structure or system, which means the first step is I need to identify what my 15% is, and then identify how I can fill up the 85% with other people in my company? Or am I completely misrepresenting?
No, I think that's a great place to start.
Oh,
and,
good.
And, you know, within that, of course, you know, if we're all working at our highest and best purpose and power, then that comes naturally. And there are other people that have that same skill set in the other areas of your business that then create, you know, a very well organized and fully integrated organization. Right. And so I do believe that that is one of the keys. When we get out of that sweet spot is where the stress and the strain and the challenges tend to occur. And every entrepreneur that I know is guilty of it, including me. I tend to do things that are not always in my sweet spot. But I would also lend the discussion to believe that this goes way beyond just what happens inside your organization.
Okay, so we'll come back to what is beyond the organization and talk about kind of my sweet spot is developing the CaliQ Pro platform, collecting data, making the data useful so that we can educate the algorithms. That's my sweet spot, definitely. I'm a reasonably good leader, I think. Terrible salesman, not very good at marketing. So do I just need to go out and find the best salesperson ever, the best marketer ever, somebody great at legal, somebody good at admin, and get on with building the platform?
Sounds like a good plan.
Right. Okay. So my next step is I've identified where I'm good. My problem then, right, is with sales. Right now, sales are ramping up, but they're not ramping up as fast as I would like. Is it a bad idea to try and step in and help out?
Well, there's boundaries, right? So, you want to, as a leader, right? You really want to support your people and empower your people in fulfilling upon their part. You want to give them guidance. So maybe a light step in, but I think the catch for that I know for myself is that if I'm stepping in deep into something that's outside of my sweet spot, then that's where I realize, okay, we have to then go back to what I would call first principles. And, you need people that need to be trained, led, and given a lot of the knowledge base that you might be able to impart to them to have them perform better in their roles. So, I think it's really a combination, not no touch and not heavy touch, but somewhere inside of a mix of light touch and adding leadership, direction, and accountability. I'm a huge believer that productivity and performance comes with holding people, including ourselves, accountable.
Right. And isn't there a problem, for example, let's take sales, which is my current bugbear, that the person doing the sales doesn't understand the business well enough to do it as effectively as I would do it if I got involved?
That may be the case.
But
that's where the trade-off comes, right?
Right.
And there's no perfect answers, but I think if you find somebody who truly is learning, committed, producing results, and is outstanding in their field, and that is their area of passion and where there is a purpose that they can step into, learn, and grow into the salesperson that you would like them to be.
Okay, super, Johnny. That's very encouraging. And you said outside business. Can you give me more input on that?
Well, life doesn't exist only in the walls within our business domain. So I've heard.
But that is part of the problem as a CEO. I was reading somewhere that some super successful CEO with $100 million companies was saying, if you're not working 12 hours a day and completely committed to it and nothing else matters, you're never going to make a big success of your business. And I found that kind of depressing.
That's one train of thought.
Right. Okay.
The other train of thought is that the time that you do spend working, you want to be high impact, high performance, and it's not linear to me, Jason, right? It's very non-linear. I'm a better CEO by spending less time only on the business, where I'm also spending time on my self-care, on my relationships. Look at what's important to you, and that's the integration. I have a very structured, I'll give you a key component. Look at look at your calendar. Look at where you spent the last 30 days and look at what you spent your time on. You're going to find out what's important to you by where you spend your time. I flip that. I invert it, and I design my time. So what time do I want to spend with my relationships? What time do I want to spend with work? What time do I want to spend in health and fitness? This morning, I went to the ocean and meditated and walked and saw the sunrise for an hour. It's all organized inside of a plan around what I would call the life wheel and the areas that are really important to me that I want to dedicate my time and my energy and my resources to.
Right. So I need to integrate the business into my life as much as I need to integrate myself into my business.
Perfectly said.
Jolly good. Oh, it looks like I'm understanding the concept here. And this is how I'm going to avoid burnout, because people talk to me, or several people have talked to me. I've been working on my own business since 1991, and I work incredibly hard, but I work incredibly hard because I love what I'm doing. It was music first, then it was TV series, cartoons, and now it's figuring out how the algorithms react to specific inputs that we give them to control what they say about people and corporations. And I love it. But lots of people who care for me say, be very careful, you're going to burn out. what's the danger, number one, if I enjoy it so much? Can I just say, I love this and I don't really need the time off that you think I need? And if I do work a lot, how can I avoid burnout?
Yeah, I think it's more the latter that you want to think about, right? If you love what you're doing, and what's the old saying? If you love what you do, you never work a day in your life,
Yeah.
and then you enjoy it. Who's to say that's your personal choice? That's any of our personal choice. I think it's a situation where things come out of, let's call it balance, because they're not properly integrated, and that's where you start to see the warning signs. I saw them when I just came back from Asia. You know, I wasn't resting well. I could feel the stress elevating. I could see the health markers, right? I track all those things, and the impact of that is negative. It's negative on me, and it's negative on the people closest to me. So, you know, burnout can show up in a lot of different ways. To me, the signals are, if you're not operating in such a way that you feel fully integrated and that your life is giving you the rewards and the happiness and the pursuits and the return on investment, that's where you want to be careful that, you know, you want to kind of revisit how you're allocating your time and what's important. Because, you know, to you, it may be, hey, this is where I really love spending 12 hours a day. And it's a stage of also life and development, you know, right, where you are in a certain period of time, the business that you're working on or such. I just, and, you know, started a very, very large project. I'm 62 years old. And people give me the same, hey, be careful. It seems like you're doing too much. I love what I'm doing. I wake up, turned on, excited. Not every day. There are some days where, okay, I know I've pushed too hard and I gotta reset. And taking that time to reset, I'm in a period now where I'm doing that, is so crucial in the quiet and the calm and the ability to think about what's really important and where do I want to spend my time and my energy and my resources.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things that kind of stands out there is I shouldn't assume that because I enjoyed my work so far, that it will always be like that. And there may be times in the future where I think, well, work isn't so important and I'd like to play more music or hang out with my friends more.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the flow. It's fluid. To me, it's always fluid. You know, as an entrepreneur, I think it's a constant that we're adapting and we're reorganizing ourselves. And those are phases and periods, right? And that's one of the things I love about being an entrepreneur is that, you know, we have the ability to design, and we get to choose.
And we get to choose, and that's a huge, lovely thing in life is say, well, I can choose and I don't have to keep working if it doesn't feel right. I can choose the right integration and therefore get balance. Is that a lot to do? I mean, self-leadership is something I understand you talk about. Is that what you mean?
Well, I think that's a little different. We're very fortunate, Jason, that we have that ability to do that. I think we're very entitled to have that option. We've worked very hard for it. Yeah. Some people don't have that flexibility yet or at this stage, and that's what they may be working towards. Self-leadership to me is something a little bit different. Okay. You know, you mentioned earlier, like, I believe, you know, you're a good leader and I'm a good leader. But it's like also being self-CEO. Who's giving the leadership to the leader, right? So, you know, I spend a lot of time in what I would say on the balcony, where I'm going up to 10,000 feet or even sometimes, you know, higher to overlook and see where am I, analyze and assess where I am as a leader. We all have strengths and weaknesses. You know, we all have blind spots. So self-leadership is a very, I would say, you know, a natural way of assessing where you are by being a critic of yourself in the desire to do better, bring more value, right? Lead, be a better leader, perhaps make more money, perhaps make more fun, you know, or in a perfect world, all of those things. It takes self-inflection, and then that leadership comes through, in my experience and where I am now, as embodied leadership, where you're bringing your natural power and your natural gifts to the people that you're touching in your life and in your business.
Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense. But the idea of kind of taking that 10,000 foot view on myself seems difficult. How do I get to that stage? Because I can look at the business and say, here are the weaknesses, here are the strengths, this is what we need to look at. These are the focuses for the next couple of months. But looking at myself, who is making these judgment calls on the business or these decisions on the business is really difficult. Is it simply self-awareness?
I think it's self-awareness combined with some type of a scorecard, right? I'm a big believer that you need to be able to measure, right? And not everything is measurable in a tangible way, but there's intangible. It's a Peter Drucker management 101. It's if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. So, we all have measurement systems, tools that we can use to utilize to be able to assess how we're doing. And in some ways that could be very clear KPI metrics. Others, maybe that you need to engage with people to get feedback and to get perspective and to listen. I'm a huge believer that if you listen really well to the marketplace, you listen to the people around you, you listen to what's going on around, you can very quickly assess and understand where you may be able to enhance, your leadership. And then comes the hard part, Jason. Then you have to actually take the steps and the energy to implement those. It's like having a coach within yourself, as well as like I work with many coaches. I'm a huge believer that, you need that external piece. But a lot of it is entrepreneurs have a very type A, typical driven perspective of what they want to achieve in life. And if you can balance that perspective with your own performance and look at it from a let's call it a neutral or somewhat unbiased perspective, that's where I think you can begin to do self-leadership. And again, it goes beyond. That includes self-care. It includes, your body, your mind, your spirit, all the things that we would think about that, again, make a person whole and integrated in their approach to life.
Brilliant. And that brings me to my last question, which is, I think self-leadership is the thing that I need the most for the next stage of CaliCube, which is going to be aggressive growth. We're pushing to tenfold our revenue over 5 years, which I feel is quite aggressive from my perspective, at least. How can I move forwards, assuming I've got the self-leadership down, move forwards without losing my own values and my own mission and my own approach and myself?
Yeah, I love that. Look, I work in the capital markets. I work on Wall Street. I work in an area where it's very quick for people to focus on, their performance over themselves, right? And the first thing I would say, Jason, is create a roadmap. I'm a big believer, just like we opened up with Google, that if we didn't have Google Maps to tell us where we were going, we'd all be driving around in circles, right? So, I create roadmaps for my business. I've written a book on an IPO roadmap, and when founders understand a roadmap, then they can take those next steps with confidence, right? And then be able to access the results that they want. And that could be, in my case, I'm a subject matter expert on IPOs, but it could be just scaling your business, as you're talking about, with the idea of building in systems and processes that will enable you and your organization to step into those next levels of growth and scale.
Okay. And so the processes, if I'm understanding correctly, will protect me, in inverted commas.
100%. It's a lot of this is not a mystery, right? Process, preparation, execution, precision. Those are the components and then, of course, you have to then look at where you are, take that feedback, and then it's a constant loop of reassessing all that. But I think even with the IPO process, it seems like such a mystery. When you have the understanding of how to break that down into a step-by-step with a roadmap and milestones, and they're very dynamic, right? I just completed, the largest IPO of my own company in my life. And, I've learned now how to navigate that. We did it in record time. I completed my IPO in 83 days from filing to effectiveness. That only comes through preparation, through first having the roadmap, through preparation, right? Having a well-organized team that's aligned, and then the precision execution comes. It would not happen otherwise. It doesn't happen by accident. So you can apply the same fundamentals. And I think a lot of that starts, Jason, with the mindset.
Right. Brilliant. So I've got to get my mindset sorted out, whether I IPO or not. If we're going to grow tenfold in the next 5 years, I've got to get my self-leadership sorted out, my mindset sorted out, remain integrated, stick to my guns, create processes to protect myself, and everything will be okay. In which case,
Sounds
I'll
like a
see you
plan.
It's a plan. And I'll see you in 5 years. I'll invite you
Right.
back and we'll discuss how well I did on that plan.
Let's plan on that. We'll do it in the south of France over a great glass of wine, and I look forward to celebrating those days.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Peter. That was delightful. Thank you, everyone, for watching. I'm going to give you the outro song. A quick goodbye to end the show. Thank you, Peter.
Love it.
Your corporate and personal brands are what Google and AI say they are. We can give you back control. Telecube.